If I'm being honest, bro, I don't think anybody in this generation could have played like 20 years ago. If I'm being 100, and this is to everybody in our league, Tatum, all y'all. Let me tell y'all something, bro. 20 years ago, bro, you couldn't get to a triple step back.
Nah.
You hear what I'm saying to you? You couldn't get to a triple step back, and then if you shot that, it had to go in. You know why? Because we had efficiency lap back in the day, my dude, and it was so fucking hard. It was too physical. And guess what? The league had to come off of it for the flow of movement to be able to have scoring go up, which is why we like to sit here and watch kind of the rat race of the high-paced game, right?
Welcome to True Basketball. Today we're going to talk about KG answering to Edwards, following up on the same, done with the 90s type of mentality. I had a video about that when Kenny the Jet Smith explained everything related to the hand check and the difficulties to play in the 90s, 80s, 2000s, and compared to today. Now, Kevin Garnett also explains the same and expands on that. Kevin Garnett and the Jet Smith are not in the same generation. I'd like to hear your comments and let's see what you think.
Gotta go back to Ticket's famous saying to me, you ain't watching the games, Lord.
So he first says that if you didn't watch it, you don't know about it. One of the things about basketball players in every era is that they always kind of admire and watch the previous eras. And you compare them, but you always watched. Kevin Garnett starts by saying you didn't watch it. So if you didn't watch it, how can, and he's with Paul Pierce, and Paul Pierce said, well, if you didn't watch it, so how do you know? So Kevin Garnett explains a few things very interesting. And he starts by saying,
But bro, let's not talk about the gamemanship, and let's not talk about the physicality of the game back then. Real shit, because I only think half these kids in the league could have been on an NBA team 20 years ago.
Straight up.
The locker room was too, it was too grown.
You know what I watched too? You know what
I
watched?
It was too grown. It was two of them. It was too much of a fraternity. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man.
Just
like
the hand check.
No, bro. It was a different vibration. David Stern did a great job of taking all of the physicality out of the game. You understand? Freedom of movement means freedom of movement.
Most of the players today wouldn't be able to play 25 years ago. Hell, I don't think they would have played 15 years ago. And one of the reasons is, and this is what I've been explaining, and he said it again, is the rules were different. But in Garnett's case, he's not talking about the handshake. Actually, he doesn't explain much about the handshake, but the roughness you have to go through, that you get bumped, that you, in order to pass a guy, the defender had a lot of freedom to defend and be physical with you, put his hands, put his body. It's not a foul. The officials were not there to protect you. They were there really to let the game play. You're not gonna live in the free throw line like James Harden, and he basically dedicates his video to James Harden, and we have to do it too.
20 years, you couldn't get to a triple step back. All that shit, James Harden and all that shit. And then too, if you was dribbling the air of the ball, bro.
Come on, man.
Swing it, man. What you doing?
What you doing? Come
Five
on,
more dribbles, you out here? Hold on, I got it. Back it up.
Miss,
what?
don't miss.
And then we had plays that you had to remember. And if you couldn't remember the plays, you couldn't be out here.
You can't go to a triple step back. That's basically James Harden. You cannot do dribble. Yes, that's right. It was not possible. You're traveling. You're not playing by the rules. Nowadays, you cannot criticize your star. Your star is basically the owner, your team's owner. Well, a very good example would be the Lakers. So the player can have the coach he wants. the players he wants. Basically, that's LeBron's career. He have had every coach and players he wanted. James Harden, he have had the players and coaches he wanted. And then when you don't please him, he's out of the door. So this is what's been one of the major differences. Now the superstars decide. And it seems that they decided they wanted more freedom of movement, less physicality.
Bro, they was coming
They
to
was-
the
I
lane,
think-
bro. You
I
might
think-
get your nose broke trying to dunk. You understand? Dwayne Wade broke Cole's nose in the All-Star game. Man, bro, it's just different. It was very different back then, bro. You can't be on your phone in the locker room. Can't. Bro, 20 years ago? Nah, nobody in this era could have played 25 years ago. We said that.
It aligns with what Kenny the Jet Smith was saying. But back then, you couldn't have played. You wouldn't be protected like Damian Lillard when he's penetrating. For example, that's another player that's super overprotected. He goes to the free throw line more than twice, 3 times more than any other player. These players are protected. And by the way, I'm a big Steph Curry fan. I think he's great, and he is one of the few skillful players who I think would have survived in that time. But players like James Harden wouldn't, because you would have been seen as soft. You would have been seen as too much of a burden for the team. You're never going to win. By the way, this is another thing that is very important. Players were not overpaid. If you wanted to be the star of your team, you couldn't just exhaust the air out of the ball and dribble and dribble and dribble until you get the shot you want, because the defender cannot touch you. No. Now we have these guys who just, and I'm going to say players like Luka, like Harden, like Westbrook, Lebron, they have the ball in his hand as much as they want. They don't run the play like the coach wants. No, they are the coach on the court. They do whatever they want. And here is the question. Is that really more efficient? Is that really winning basketball?
And I'm talking about not just the play and all the skill that everybody got, actually was called bad shots and lack of efficiency. It was until they started and saying take more threes than twos. Before then, we played ball, bro.
Efficiency is something that is related to not only you having the ball in your hands, is knowing how to play off the ball, because you have to know how to play off the ball. No team has ever won with a player having the ball in his hands so much. Actually, a very good example is Michael Jordan. He was the best player in the world. He was the best player in the league. And sooner or later, he had to realize, same with Kobe, by the way, no, it's better if I average less points. And by the way, Phil Jackson said that too. Like, I convinced Jordan, you can see it in The Last Dance, I convinced Jordan of taking less shots and getting his teams really involved. Not the LeBron way, by the way. It's like, you have to play off the ball. You have to let the system run, and when you get the shot, you get the shot. This is not what happens today. The player, we're playing today something called, and it has a name, which is heliocentric basketball. You see, this video is about for educational purposes.
That's what I'm trying to
Because
say, bro.
nobody
You,
in this era has a
bro,
mid-range.
you couldn't get, nobody.
Nobody in this era has a post game.
And the ones that do look amazing. Look at
Yeah.
Shea. Shea got a mid-range.
Yeah.
So this is also in relation to mentality. Players back then were well-rounded players. Were not only, I'm only skilled in a very particular area of the game. This is the mentality of today fans, because they've been brainwashed by the media all day long. Skill is only more dribbling and more shooting. That's it. So post up, knowing how to defend, knowing how to position yourself on the court. When you're coming back on defense, select a player. It was very difficult to play and remember all these rules. Today, you can see many bad teams. They don't play the right way. They just kind of improvise, and defensively, it's a disaster. many teams, it's not the high scoring is not only because of the freedom of movement. It's because you see all these kids that don't know how to play. They're just tall enough and athletic enough to play. And this is very interesting what he's saying. Back then, you had to know a lot of stuff. How to defend in a formation. What's your role? How to get a rebound. Basketball involves a lot of things that require skill. Not only the skill of dribbling like a Tim Hardaway or an Isaiah Thomas, or for example, or shooting like a Mark Price, a Reggie Miller, who knew how to come off screen. By the way, Reggie Miller is Steph Curry's idol. By the way, Steph Curry had a lot of Reggie Miller in his game. That's why he wins so much. So many of the players today wouldn't be able to play.
The Jason Kidds, the Michael Jordans, the Grant Hills, the McGrady's and the Cobes, you know what I'm saying? The TDs, the C Webbs, the Rasheeds,
They wouldn't be able to play back then. And the reason is their games are too specialized. Kenny Smith also said it in my previous video. Back then, you would have been a specialist. You don't defend, and your only role is to dribble and shoot. Oh man, you go to the bottom of the bench, or you are just a 3-and-D guy. You are a Nicolas Batum. Great. I love that player. He's great. As a role player, you're gonna sit in a corner, defend, and shoot the three. That's it. Players well-rounded like a Clyde Drexler, like a Dominic Wilkins, like a Hakeem Olajuwon, who's the most skillful center we've seen in history until we have Nikola Jokic today. Those were the most skillful players we've ever seen. And by the way, most of them played in the 90s, 80s, 90s. And McGrady, Vince Carter were very skillful players who can play on the ball and off the ball, who could play the system, who could defend. Well, Vince Carter not so much, and that's why Vince Carter didn't win much. You couldn't win as a player who only knew how to be the system. And this is something I've been saying in other videos about Lebron and his generation from 2003 and over. And this is let's say, where I draw the mark. The players who were drafted 2003 and over, something you can see about them is they were players who were the system. The only way they will be very good is if they have the ball in their hands. Otherwise, they get lost. For example, D. Wade, LeBron, Chris Paul, Carmelo, they only knew how to be the system. They never really mastered how to play off the ball. And we saw many of them. I'm just telling you the best ones. What happened when you put them all together? Well, we can figure from the 2006 Olympics or 2008 when Kobe saved them, or well, we can talk about the 2020 or 2024 Olympics.
In the Olympics was similar style play when the guard can ride you damn near over the pick.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to get out of that, Holiday, when he come out and he get over, he there. Right. So if you go to cross him, bro, you don't even. That's what I'm saying, bro. Man, the levels in which you had to be not only strong enough but skilled enough to get by this.
Garnett also said it. You see, in the Olympics, basketball is more similar to what they played back then in the 2000s or in the 90s. By the way, in my opinion, personal opinion, that I have watched 80s, 90s, 2000s Olympics, when I compare them in my mind, one of the things that I can tell you is back in the day, and this is why they are terrified of playing in the Olympics, and they always come up with excuses how the world is so incredible. It's because back in the day, American basketball was the toughest. So Americans were never, when they went to the Olympics, they were always the toughest team, the strongest team, the most athletic team. They normally were the people who had the centers. 92, you have David Robinson and Patrick Ewing. You had the better, more skillful centers. The fastest, more athletic, better shooting, more skill in the post centers. Center who knew how to grab rebound. Dream Team 2 and Dream Team 3, they had Shaq and Olajuwon. Dream Team 2 had Alonzo Mourning. So when they went to the Olympics, the 5 and 4, which is normally in basketball very important, because of size and strength, no problem. America was always the better team. That's not the case anymore. That's why when they go to the Olympics and there is no defensive 3-second rule, and they can play a little bit physical, even though there is no hand check, but you can play a little bit physical. The game is more similar to the 80s and 90s.
You was out 2-3 games, man. Your teammates, hey, bro, what you doing tonight? You going? Nah, I can't go, man. My toenail off, man. I can't. You had to strap it up. You had to get out here. You had to dive on the floor. You had to get in the rumble. Yeah.
Right.
Real shit.
Kevin Garnett focused more on the mentality. So back in the day, you wanted the fight. You don't load manage. You're not gonna lose. You're just gonna say, hey, I'm gonna play your 60 games. Or hey, I'm just gonna play offense so I can get my stats up. So I'm not gonna play defense in the regular season like LeBron has been doing since 2015, because the last time LeBron was an all-defensive player was 2014. He knew that, hey, now all it matters is the point, rebound, and assist. Today's league is social media league. For someone who's going to just check the stats, checks the highlights, and that's it. But for fans who watch the game, and I keep watching the games. I love these last finals. I didn't like the blowouts. I didn't like that the teams, it's becoming a 3-point shooting contest, and whoever is hot that day win the game. But this is manufactured. It becomes a show, a globetrotter show. And nobody wants that. That's why nobody watched the All-Star game. That's why the All-Star games in the past, it was actually watching the best players in the world in motion.